Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the Power of the Reflective Speaker series. It's such a good time of the year that we can pause, we can do some self reflection. And this topic this evening, walk the lane. Walk the line, sorry. And this is trying to let us know that as we wind down 2024, how are we walking? Are we walking in our line or are we walking outside the line? And what are some of the things that is causing us to walk outside instead of walking on that line? And are we setting our boundaries? Are we checking in with our mental health? Are we doing our self care? Are we really taking a good look at our lives and seeing the direction where we are heading, if we are heading on that line that we're supposed to be heading on, or we have been distracted with a lot of things that is happening around us? But this evening, our host, Will Williams, he's going to be our reflective speaker this evening, and he's going to help us to understand this subject matter, walk the line. And he will expand and he will walk us through how we can walk that line in any challenge situation. He will give us some tools that we can work with when that time comes and if we fall off track. So, Will, welcome to the Power of the Reflective Speaker series. I am Karen Pascal, holistic health and wellness coach and a co-author of 2 books with my sister Joan. She's not going to be here this evening. And it's Self-Care is Intentional and Your Gut in You. And it's available on Amazon and you could grab yourself a copy because it's going to really help you to understand more about your gut and about self-care so you could able to walk the line.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Will, we just want to welcome you to the Power of the Reflective Speaker. And can you share a little bit what this Reflective Speaker series is about? If someone is watching this
Right.
evening
Right.
and they
So
would
it's
like to
time.
be a part of this, how they can really be a part of this?
Right. Okay. Well, you and I had a few discussions about something that we wanted to do together in the near future, and I had this vision come to me about this show, this concept. And a lot of times I get DMs and messages from people from all over the world asking how to get into speaking, the industry of speaking, and what the pay is and that kind of thing. And there are companies out there who put events on, but they charge the speaker to come in and actually give a speech at their, event that they host. So I have been approached by a couple of those companies a few times, and I'm not knocking what they do. I mean, it's a good concept, but it's just not something that I would participate in. And I thought that maybe with my experience from television and promotion and hosting events and putting events together and that kind of thing, that I could offer something like this to give those who want to get into speaking and veteran speakers who are looking for ways to promote themselves an opportunity to speak. Now, and when you and I decided to launch this thing, we thought that, veteran speakers especially, this should be no problem for them. But what we've come to find out is that even speakers who have been speaking for quite some time are afraid to put themselves in a 10-minute segment because in 10 minutes, that's a precise speech you have to give. And then the question becomes, can you deliver a speech in that time that's going to connect with an audience where you actually are reaching them? Now, to do that, you have to have a really good uh, concept of what you want to talk about, and it has to be on target. And so, as you and I know, most speakers, especially the good ones, are going to have a story to incorporate in whatever they're talking about. And no matter what the setting is or what the speech is going to be about to that particular company or organization or group or whoever it is, it's going to incorporate some way that it connects with what their purpose is of having you come in and speak. And so very few people can actually do that. Everybody can speak, but to be specific about something, that takes a whole different, that's another level within itself. And so what we're finding out is this series was launched specifically to, we're planning on doing 13 shows. That's a season. It used to be a television, now it's 10 shows. But we were going to do 13 shows, and this series is going to end in April. I mean, not April, December rather. In December, and then we'll go into 2025 and kick it off again with something totally different. But in doing that, this gives you a chance to speak directly to the business community because this is on every platform you can think of. You can see this show, and so business people specifically who book speakers get a chance to see you and what your speech is. And if they connect with your speech, then they say, okay, well, I can hire them to come in and give my company a speech. That's the kind of person I'm looking for what they're talking about. And so that's what it's going to give you a chance to do. Now, we don't act as your booking agent or middleman as a manager or anything like that for you. You have to handle all that stuff yourself. If a company decides they like what they see and hear from you, then they're going to connect with you directly, and that's not on us. So you get the chance to basically be your own total package here. And all we're doing is giving you the opportunity to get exposure. That's it. Now, as far as the show itself goes, because I get stuff from time to time asking, well, what's the purpose of doing a show like this, which I just covered the main purpose of it. But we're also looking to grow this into a actual series. So what I'm doing is I'm talking to the Netflixes and Apple TV and people like that, just because nothing like this exists. So we're in a brand new marketplace that if this is done properly and we get the ear of the right person, they can pick this up and stream it. And so that's what we're looking for us. So that's why we're not charging anything for you to come on the show. All you have to do is just say what you want to talk about, and the rest is on you. We book you, and you come in and give a short profile of yourself, a picture, and then what your background is, and let it be put on a flyer by Karen. She produces all this stuff, and then it's out and show date, and you're here in my seat. So either one of us three will be hosting and asking you, before the show, we have a conversation with you live and tell people what you're planning on doing and what you're talking about. And then we'll move in and go into give you the chance to speak. And that's it. Now, most times that we've done this, The speeches run a little bit over 10 minutes. We already knew that was going to happen anyway, because it's hard to kind of close that at 10. But that means you have to speak really quick to get it in. But that's not an issue. So we'll let you run over the 10-minute mark, and at tops you probably end up going 15, maybe even 20 minutes if you just really rolling. And we're gonna let you stay in your energy flow and just get it all out. And that's it. Once you finish up, we'll cut in, and then we'll come back and have a short conversation about what you just discussed and the main points of it, and we close the show. And then after that, you're part of history. So somebody somewhere is going to watch this replay over the time of history, and they're going to see you give your 10-minute speech on the reflection series. So that's what the show basically is about. Well, it's open to anybody that wants to do this. And like I said, what we're finding out is sometimes you have veteran speakers who have been speaking for a while. The week leading into their show, they sort of get cold feet and start thinking that maybe 10 minutes is too short for them and they can't get enough of their speech in, so they back out. And so that's okay. That's fine. I mean, if we book you and then you can't make it, that's no big deal. So there's always 2025. We'll come back to you maybe and ask you if you want to do it again after you've seen what the show is about and you realize you can do it. As for the new speakers, if you ever wanted to speak and you haven't had a chance to yet, and we've had a few of those people come on already, this is your chance. And so this is your opportunity to prove to yourself that you can do it. So you don't have to prove anything to anybody else. You have to walk your own steps first. That's part of what I'm talking about tonight, walk the line, that you have to prove to you first before you can get anybody else to step in line behind you, follow or support you. So that's the gist of what the show actually is. Karen, Joan, and myself, we all three co-host the show. At any given point, you can see one or two of us together hosting the show, and then you the guest. And so we're gonna make you relaxed, and you'll be able to just flow with it, because we treat this like it's a conversation that we're just having in private, but only people are watching live. So but you go into it relaxed though. So we're not gonna surprise you with anything that you're not prepared for. We're not gonna ask you any questions that you probably won't be able to answer really quick and put you on the spot like that. So it's a relaxing atmosphere, and for you to just do what you do. Just say what's on your mind and speak your piece. Be authentic, and the rest takes care of itself. That's it. That's what the Reflective Speaker Series is all about.
The beautiful thing, Will, is that when we can create a space and allow someone to be themselves, and many times people are aspiring to be speakers and they really don't know which platform to go on.
Right.
They got a lot of cold feet. And this is a space that you can come into this space. And I would say give it a trial run,
Absolutely.
you know, because there is no judgment in this space. We're going to allow you to be yourself. We're going to allow you to deliver the way how you would like to deliver. And as Will said, you never know who's looking, and you never know where it can take you. And the only thing that you would need to do is just to sharpen your skills, because you already have the skills within yourself. And all you need to do is to just step out and just be yourself. And this is a great platform that you can come on. If you really want to aspire to be a speaker, we're going to allow you to come on and we're going to allow you to deliver your message. Whatever the message is, we're going to allow you to deliver. So, Will, tell us about this topic, walk the line. I guess a
Hey,
lot of people are wanting to know what is this
right,
topic all about, because a lot of times people never heard this kind of statement before, walk the
right,
line. So
right.
can you tell us what is walk the line?
Yeah. And the profile leading up to us actually being on the show right now, you explained it pretty good on the front page of the flyer leading up to the show. And what it covers basically is your own boundaries, your principles, fear, how to conquer that, and basically just be you, who you are, and good things can happen if you're prepared to. And the only way you can be prepared is by walking that line. Everybody has a line they have to walk. Okay? Nobody gets it. It's like everybody's personal journey. it's the same concept basically, but it's your daily life that you live, that you walk in that line to get to where you think you want to go. And so along that line, of course, there are going to be some obstacles that you may have to veer off and come back to it, or veer way over here, and maybe it may take you a while to get back to the line. But it's always about walking that line, and that's what my presentation, my speech is going to basically cover. I'm going to put a short story in it. And when I do these things, I speak the short stories that I put into the speech are true. I put a lot of my own experiences into those stories. So I'm not borrowing somebody else's story and then I'm telling you from the perspective of somebody else's viewpoint. I'm giving you what I experienced myself. And so I've had a really good life. I really have. I've done a whole lot of things, been to exposed and experienced a lot of different things and people. And so I have hundreds of stories that I could, cover no matter what topic it is. I have something that's going to fit some kind of way into what you're looking for. So you hear people a lot. I've seen a message that was put up asking, could we go deeper? If don't do a surface level, uh, I guess, message. But here's the thing about this: when you speak, and that's what people lose track. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm a transformation. There's a difference in those two. And I live from the perspective that you already are motivated. And what I need to do when I speak to you is inspire you to act on that motivation. And so that's what I'm looking for is what's going to trigger you to move, get out of your fear and say that you can really do this and start taking those baby steps, start moving on into the motivation part of it that you can actually carry yourself into. And so that's what I try to do. And so it's going to be pretty interesting because I have a good story for this one. And when you and I think we talked on last Sunday night, maybe Monday, and that's when it hit me after I got through talking with you. I say, okay, after my guest who was supposed to be here, just, couldn't make it. So I decided I was going to go ahead and do a series here at our spot. And so Karen and I discussed that, and we said it's a go. And so I came up with this particular story for this. I thought it was fitting for this particular spot tonight. So that's what I'm going to talk about is walking the line. And so anytime that you're ready now, I guess we can go into it unless you have something else you want to discuss.
Yeah, I was just listening to you what you were saying, Will, and you was saying about the principles and the personal journey because we all are on a journey,
Absolutely.
and we all are walking this line of life,
Huh?
and each one of us have our own line that we have to walk.
Yes.
And as you rightfully said, our line that we are walking is going to full of challenges. How are we going to deal with those challenges? You know, because many times when we walk in this line, we'll have to stop, we'll have to pause, we'll have to do self reflection, we'll have to go inward to get the strength that we need to move forward on this line. And sometimes you find that we may turn away into next direction from this line. How do we really come back on this line? Because we are walking this path that we came here to walk, the purpose that we came here for. And when we divert from this line, I would really like for you to touch on how can we come back on this path. What are some of the modalities that we need to use in order to come back on this path to really fulfill what our destiny is here for us to do? So I'll now hand you the mic and you're gonna take the floor and you're gonna really dive deep into walk the line. Take the mic, Bill.
All right. I'm Will Williams. I'm your speaker for tonight. And I'm going to speak to you about walking the line. Uh, Within the structure of walking a line, we all have challenges along the way of that line that we walk. Okay. And so no matter what you're doing, there's going to be a line in front of you that you have to walk. And this line is invisible, but it's a line that covers your personal life, your business life, your spiritual life. And all those things are going to combine to get you where you think you want to go. Okay. Now I said think you want to go because some of these places you may not want to walk, but you have to. You have to do that. So I'm going to start this with a short story and then cover the aspects of the how to after this is over. Okay. So here we go. I had an opportunity once to work in the oil and gas. Okay, I didn't intend to do this, but it ended up working out for me to be able to do it. This is part of the line too. The way this all happened is I met a guy. He was from Chihuahua, Mexico. He spoke broken English, and so we were together at this school that I attended to get my CDL, the license. And so none of the other guys would actually hold conversations with him or anything like that. And so he was going to get booted out of school because the instructors couldn't understand him either, and they kind of gave up instead of following through and just realizing they needed to just listen a little more. They could have understood what he was talking about, but they didn't have the patience for that. So this particular program was a quick 6 week program where they would speed you. You were speeding through every process they needed to teach you in order to get your CDL. So it wasn't something that was dragging out over a series of a few months. It was only 6 weeks. And so they didn't have the presence. So one day at lunch, he came to me and he said, look, I'm going to go back to this city in West Texas. He said, but when I go out there, I met these two girls when I was coming through to come to the school and at this club, and they told me that they were recruiters. They worked at this company. And they told me if this didn't work out to come back through there and they would get me hired into the oil industry. So he said, but I don't know anybody in America. And so I'm going to ask you a favor. And at this point, I don't know what he's going to ask. He said, if I go out there, would you come and live with me for a few months until I get acclimated to how the American system works and how to, deal with certain situations that I'm probably going to encounter. And so I told him, you know what? Uh, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. So I got my license, and they flunked him out just like he said they were going to flunk him out. He gave me another. I got my license with another 2 points after school. And so I called him and told him I was done with the school and where was it? He told me what city he was, and it just happens I have relatives who live in the area that he was in. So I told him I was coming out there. So I get there, we get it acclimated in. So he takes me to these two recruiters and introduces me. And he's already talked to them about me. And so they're excited. I don't know what the excitement is about, though, because I don't know what they're going to look for to put me into this field. So they say, look, somebody like you is who they are looking for in the audience. Your background, from what he's telling us, you're a perfect candidate. And I'm like, candidate for what? He said, well, in upper management, we're looking for people, and this is what the thing was, is they were looking specifically for, I hate using that word because I don't believe nobody's a minority. They were looking for people others outside of what looked like them. And so I told them, I said, well, okay, I'd be interested in something like that. So they said, well, we are not going to hire you, but we're going to send you to the district manager because we've already talked to him about you. So my name is, like I tell people all the time, your name will go places before you ever even hit the door. You'll already be in somebody's mouth
Sure.
and you won't even know it. And so this district manager, he already knew about me. So they set up a date and time. So I went to his office and we sat down and talked. And we talked for about 2 hours. And for 2 hours, we discussed everything but the oil industry. We talked about family, religion, life, the city he was in, all kinds of stuff outside of that. So finally, the last, I guess, 5 minutes of it, he had a meeting he had to go to, and I think if he just lost track of time, he didn't intend to spend that much time with me, but he had. And he said, "Look, I can't tell you what you used to make, but this is what I want to do." He said, "You don't know anything about the oil industry, so what I need to do is, because I've already talked to people above me about you, and what they suggest we do, instead of putting you up in some cushy office, we're going to start you at the bottom, move you, fast track you. He said, you'll be in one area for maybe 2 weeks at the most, and then you'll move to something else, and then that'll be for another 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to move you fast because we want you to see the basics of what we do, what this industry is." told him I could do that. So he hired me. And he told me, "Say, I'm gonna pay you more than what some of the people are making in these other areas, but until you get up to the management part, I can't pay you that yet." I said, "That's fine. The experience alone is going to be great because I've never even thought about getting to all that, right?" So I get in and I start, doing what they asked me to do. And one day I'm on this crew and they go to this site. Now, I don't know anything about what they do, right? We're at this site and they're going to repair one of the lines from one of the pump jacks, thing that pumps the oil and gas up, right? So they say, well, what we need is we don't have anybody with us today that does this. So we're going to ask you to put, they break this suit out. This is the first time I've ever seen this suit. They get this suit out and they tell me, you're going to put this thing on. It's going to protect you. And we're going to ask you to backtrack this line all the way down to the other side of that hill right there. Now, they flush these pipes with hot water so that it's easy to track them. And because they're all above ground, it's easy to track it. If you get off of the line, so to speak, all you gotta do is touch one of the pipes and you find the one that's hot. There you go, you're back on your line. So this suit that they gave me to put on, it goes up to your waist. It's from your feet, it covers your feet, and it goes up to your waist. Now, the reason that they give you this suit is because when you're tracking this line, there are snakes, scorpions, cactus with thorns in on the sides of your fingers. And so it's the first time I've been exposed to this. So I'm asking them, I say, well, okay, well, what if a snake strikes this suit? He said, well, no, you don't have to worry about that. Matter of fact, if you run up on it, and we're doing this in the time of the year when the snakes are in dens. So if you're going to run up on one, it's going to be more than just one because they're trying to get their winter, set themselves up to get ready for winter. And so it's like, who knows how many in one den, but it's going to be a lot of them. And so they usually have these little cubby holes that they have underneath these lines, because these lines are above ground, that they can get into, and it can hold a lot of snakes. So I put this suit on, and as I'm heading over to start going to track this line, I'm thinking to myself, I wonder, I've seen rattlesnakes up close and personal before, but nothing like the ones that I was going to see out of West Texas. West Texas is a sort of like Arizona, so to speak. It's a desert type environment. So you see all kinds of odd insects, creatures, and things like this that are going to be bigger than what you think they are. And so I'm looking at this suit, but it's made out of a material that the snakes can't penetrate. So even no matter how many times they strike it, you'll feel them bumping against it, but they can't penetrate it with their teeth. So it's basically useless to them. So you can stand there and be pretty brave with the snake. Right? And so as I start to track this line, and remember, I have probably 2 football field lengths to cover. So along that route, I'm going to I can engage with who knows how many snake dens, I have no idea. So I start walking this line and I go down and I finally get to the end of it and I'm up to the main pumping station area where the pipe runs into. So up there, once I get there, I call back down and tell them I've traced it and I found the main pump that it runs into. And so they tell me, okay, we're going to shoot this water through there and check the pressure and see if the pressure holds. And so I'm there. Now that's walking the line. That's what they call it. It's hauling, just walk the line. So when you do that and you've never experienced something like that, my adrenaline was high because again, I don't know what to expect as I take each step. There are cactus. You can't see, what's on the other side of the line because there are cactus. You have to kind of get around them to get to the line again. And so you get off track and you have to come back. And so in doing that, I carried this story with me because of what I experienced from doing that. I didn't even know they did something like that. And so for me to experience it was a chance in life to sort of realign my thinking process to of what life actually is and what the journey is. Because that's what it reminded me of, is you have a straight line, but then there are going to be obstacles that are going to making you veer away from that time. You have to find yourself when you're outside of it, right? So no matter, like I said, this comes back to your spirit, your life, your personal life, and your business life. So when you're on a journey like that, you have to have principles. Now, I since me, myself and the snake had nothing in common, we were going to be enemies because he was going to feel like he needed to protect himself. I'm just on a journey to get up the hill to a spot that I need to go to. So I'm not even considered doing him any damage, right? It's just trying to get itself together to go to sleep for the winter. So if I'm encountering one, luckily on that walk I didn't. But I did hear some, but they were on the other side, so I could hear them rattling to let me know that they were there, like stay away, or else we may have to deal with you. But I just kept my focus, and that's what you have to remember too, that your focus has to be kind of shallow, to where you don't see anything but what's ahead, your journey. That's all you need to focus on, your journey. So what everybody else is doing is no concern of you. And if you can do that, then you can accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. Of course, you're going to hear the noise. Like I said, I heard them rattling to the side off to the distance, but I wasn't in their lane. So they were just sending a signal to me that, okay, we know that you're out here, we can feel your vibration. We know that you're here, and we can feel you in the air. So don't come over this way. That's all they rattle for, is to give you a warning. They don't really want to, take you on unless they have to. So luckily, we didn't have to engage. I listened to that and kept going, right? So that's the thing, that you have to have your focus, your principles, and your boundaries. That you have to remember is you don't have anything to do with something that may be going off to the side unless you put yourself in a position to do that. You don't have to, because your journey is personal and it's just for you. It doesn't include anybody else, no matter what else, family members, loved ones. It doesn't include any of that. It's just about you. And so if you stay focused, you'll get to the end of that journey in one piece. Now, when you get there, will you have understanding of why you took that journey? So when I got to the other side, I understood why I needed to take that journey up out, because I was trying to learn something that would be kind of small in the bigger picture of what they were trying to get me to learn. But at the same time, I needed to understand how that guy, if I ever had to go out to a site, how that man or woman would feel walking that line to get to the other side there, what they felt when they did it. And so that's one of the things that people don't pay enough of attention to, is their own line. They're always off veering over to try to deal with somebody else's stuff. You can only do that if your intention is to get back on your own line. But if you go over to save somebody else or attempt to save somebody else, then you've completely, you don't have any principles, and you definitely have stepped outside of your boundaries. So those things don't really include you. You can give somebody some advice, and hopefully they'll take heed to it. But if they don't, that's all you can do. So if you go and decide you want to now include yourself into their whatever they're doing, that's going to take you completely away from what you are. And at that point, you're lost. So you have to remember to stay on your own line, so to speak. And if you can do that, you'll be fine. But that's what walking the line is. And so, like I just said, in business, personal, spiritual, your line is your own to secure. And I just gave you a story of the fear, the danger of it, and also the apprehension of doing something like that. Because you never know what's ahead of you. When you're on that journey, you don't know what's ahead. You don't see what's ahead, and there's no way for you to understand sometimes the environment that lies ahead of you. So that's why you have to have your focus, your principles, and also your boundaries in order to keep you on the line that you need to go on. So that's from a depth standpoint. That takes you to where when you're talking about being motivated or inspired, those things happen in like a vacuum. I mean, there are two different things: inspiration and motivation, right? Like I told Karen at the beginning of this, I believe that motivation you have within. So when I speak to you, I'm speaking from the perspective of inspiring, hopefully triggering something in you that tell you you already have what you're looking for. Now it's just up to you to actually start, you know, move toward it and put action. So those are the things that get people lost if they can't do that. You know, within this same story, I went to another site and this guy came up to me and you know, when you go to these sites and they're all in the city, you have different color helmets on. That's how they identify who's who and what your level is, right? So the guy notices my color of my helmet. He walks over to me. He was really nice too. He's talking to me, gives me this sermon and how long he's been in the industry, has been working there and doing this stuff. So he's really talking it up. And for some reason, he decides he wants to discuss his salary, right? So these guys are making a lot of money, but he tells me how much he makes per hour. And so he then turns around and gives me this speech of, if you just hang in there, you'll get to this level. So I'm thinking that he's really making some big money since he's talking to me like this. When he gives me the number, I was dumbfounded by what he said to me because he had no idea. He was being underpaid severely. He was nowhere near even. I mean, now with the economy being what it is, that's probably what they're actually paying most of the guys that's out there. But he was nowhere near, not even in the same ballpark of what they were giving me. It wasn't my place to tell him that he was being underpaid because he thought he was making a lot of money. So I just told him, thank you for the advice. I appreciate your conversation, and I'll work hard to make sure I can get to where you are. So he thought I was making less than him, not understanding that they had basically given me a gold card, and he wasn't even going to ever get to that level, you know. So that I found that kind of interesting about it because they kind of, the more sites I went on, speaking about their salaries was kind of a taboo thing because they were paying so many guys unbalanced salaries that they didn't want them to find out that they were being underpaid. So they had like a rule that was, it was kind of said but not said. They knew to follow it, so they never did actually discuss their salaries out open. And I kind of found that kind of odd for the type of industry it is. Because here's what I found out when I was there: is most of those guys, you know, you had guys driving uh, big 4-wheel trucks. You know, they put these lift kits on them where the trucks was jacked up real high, and they, you know, that costs a lot of money to do that. And they were driving them like they were small cars because, and the reason that they were doing that, and because they were making so much money that it didn't matter to them. So these guys own big trucks, boats. You know, they were buying big boy toys, what we call it in men language. So they were buying stuff that you shouldn't actually have unless you work a long period of time to acquire these things. You had guys that in their early 20s, you know, had 2 or 3 of these big trucks jacked up, and they had boats and I mean houses, and you name it, they had. Because that's how much money was being changed over in the oil industry. That's why the industry tries to stay afloat. And if you imagine the employees are making, just like it with sports, you know, what they paying the players is nothing to what the owners are making. It's not even in the same ball game. So that's why they're able to pay these guys a nice salary to do what they do. But at the same time, they're not paying them what they're worth actually, because the guys kind of get caught up in what they are getting, and they think that, okay, this is more than enough for me, so I'm good. I can buy what I want to buy when I want to buy it. You know, they didn't live from paycheck to paycheck. For them, it was more like how much could they spend. So it was no limit to what they thought they could buy. I mean, a lot of them didn't invest their money into anything in particular outside of the big trucks. They wanted the truck, but that was it as far as actually putting it in the stocks and stuff like that. They didn't even have a thought of that. They saw themselves as being able to do this for a long period of time. And some of the jobs that they had these guys doing, there's no way that their body was going to hold up to the length of time that they thought they could do this in their old age and then walk away from it. So yeah, it's a totally different world out there. So I enjoyed my experience in it, and I learned so much about the industry itself and what they actually do and how they work and how they find and drill and that kind of stuff. So it took me into a world that I didn't never thought about entering and never thought about what they actually did. I didn't see it as anything. Even when you go, I went to a few of the sites where they had the big windmills. They were putting up those large windmills, and I saw them put them up from scratch to completion, right? And those guys, they were making uh, salaries that was ridiculous. So when the young guys come and talk to me and they talk about getting into fields where they can make a lot of money fast, I'll mention those areas for them because if you don't have already a family in tow and it's just you, then you can go into the oil industry or oil and gas industry and probably stay for, let's say, 3 to 5 years. And you basically are set up to then invest your money and you can retire probably at 30, 35. So they make more than enough money to be able to do something like that if they're using the money wisely. But like I said, you're young and they want toys, so they put money into toys. They're buying all kinds of stuff, so and customizing and that kind of thing. So, but I always tell a young guy if he really wants to if he's by himself and he wants to make large amounts of money really quick, go into one of those industries and you'll be able to do that. And so that's what walking the line kind of covers is the basics of it is you stand on your pathway and finding your way. You can help people along the way, but always stay on your path. Like when the guy was telling me about his salary, I could have easily have told him what they were paying me, but that would have upset him because he had been there for years. Okay. And they were still underpaying him for the time period that he told me he had been there. He was making nowhere near what he should have been making, but he was still making a lot of money though. And so for him, that was enough. He was happy to take care of his family. He was married and had a family, so he was content with that. So it wasn't my place to then veer off my line and tell him, hey, look, they're underpaying you, and this is what you probably should be making. And if I were you, that wasn't my place to do that. So I did. So I stayed on my line because I was only going to be in his area for a few seconds there. That visit was, I think it lasted maybe about 45 minutes, and then I went to another site. So I was seeing so much so fast that I had to make sure that I processed all of it, kept it kind of in line with what I wanted to accomplish from what the district manager told me that he was looking for to do. And so he had put all this energy behind me to make sure that I was, you know, uh, learning what I needed to learn. He would come and check and call me and ask me how was things going. And was it okay? If I needed something, tell him what I needed. So he was staying on top of it to make sure that I was on this fast track, that I learned what I needed to in order to, when I went into management, that I would know my stuff. So when I went out to a site, somebody would question, whether I knew what I was talking about or not. So that's why when you cover up and you stay on your line, you'll know what you're talking about. You know what your focus is. When you show up, you're prepared to then walk your own pathway and speak it with confidence that you absolutely are certain of what you speak. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about this evening. To let you know that no matter what the setting is, if this was a work environment and I'm talking to a group, the same story that I just told would equate to whatever process you're working on, whether it's teamwork or whatever else you may be doing, that you would be able to engage in some kind of way connect some of the parts of the story with what you're having to have to deal with to move your life forward. So that kind of wraps that up. And let me close with this one part too. 'Cause I had a chance to I had a chance to put on 3 different suits. So I go to this site one day and these big storage tanks that they have. I had no idea that they did this kind of stuff, but they were going down inside of these tanks and basically pressure washing the bottoms of them and pushing that residual out, right? And so my job on this particular day was to go in and make sure that it had been cleaned correctly. So again, I get to this site and they tell me, see that suit over there? And I'm looking at this thing. They say, you have to put that on in order to go in that tank because it's fumes already just that we don't, no matter how well we clean it, the fumes are still there. So if you breathe that stuff, it can kill you. So you're
Yeah.
gonna put this respirator system on, and then you go down in there. So I had to put this mask and this tank and this stuff on to go down inside of this tank. And so I get down the steps and I go down there and I'm inside this thing. I look up and I'm like, I'm inside of an actual all storage tank, something that I never thought I would even venture into. But I'm looking around and, and the air is not clean. It has meters on to tell you that the air, if the tank is not working properly, it'll go red to let you know that you need to try to get out of there as fast as you possibly can so they can help you because at that point in time, you're inhaling the fumes and this stuff can kill you again. So the system is going to tell you if it's failing or not, or if it's not enough oxygen still in the tank for you to still be in that area safe. And so I'm looking at the lights and they're starting to kind of, fluctuate up and down. So it's telling me that I don't have much time there because the tank that I did take wasn't a full tank. And I didn't know that. And I guess they didn't know it either till I got it in and I radioed back up to tell them that the lights were coming on. And that's when they told me I needed to start to get back up, get out of there before it went off. But I didn't end up going up the steps. They ended up coming down and there was a door on the bottom of it that you could actually use. It was a steel door to where the stuff, whatever they were going to put in there or had put in there, couldn't leak out. But you could go out of it in an emergency situation. And so they opened this door on the bottom of it for me to come out. The tank, of course, it did go red, but at that time I was out and it got me away from the area where fumes would get in more in my system where I could breathe some fresh air and I had to take in oxygen to put fresh air back in the system. So those experiences I will carry with me for a lifetime. But at the same time, when I speak to people, it also I incorporate them into where you understand that your opportunities will come, but they also come with apprehension, fear, danger. These things scare people of the unknown, but sometimes that's what you're gonna have to do in order to keep your line straight. You have to be able to walk it still in order to get to where you want to go. So that would be what I would close with is make sure that you stay focused, keep your boundaries in check, and focus on you, and the rest of it will play itself out. Some parts of life will always be more difficult than others, and it'll make you think that you can't handle what's here, or some type of way you're not supposed to be here. But always remember that if you stay on your line, you'll find your way to, and that's what I would like to
Wow.
close with.
Well, oh my God, thank you for sharing those stories. It's always a beauty in telling stories
Yes,
because it really helps an individual to understand the message. The story really brings out the message. And this evening, you telling us that story, it helps us to understand that you walk in this line and you really don't know what is going to happen on this line. Sometimes you're being alerted, you're being told what to expect, but still you never really know when you really get deep down into this line. You really don't know what is going to happen. And that is how fear comes over a lot of people.
absolutely.
That is how fear paralyzes people because they are fear of the unknown. They don't trust the self enough to pick the self up and to walk that line
Right.
and to really see and to explore the evolution. Because when you're not afraid and you decide to walk, there are so many things you can learn walking that line.
Yeah.
And I like when you said that your names could be dropped in rooms, you know, and that is why you have to be authentic Wherever you go, whatever you do, you just need to be authentic because you never know who is looking at you. And as you said, your name would be dropped in places that you can't even go in. Your name could be dropped in there. So continue to trust yourself, have faith in yourself. Whatever is your dream, trust your dream because your dreams is going to open doors for you. And the thing is that deep down within us, the intuition always tells us the truth.
Oh,
But many times we do not trust it because of fear paralyzes us. We do not trust our intuition. We don't trust that inner wisdom to really pilot us in the direction exactly we need to go. And sometimes you find that the challenges that we go through is only taking you to a next door because there are many doors that we have to go through on this line. There are a lot of doors that we have to walk through. But before you go through these doors, you have to graduate to go through these doors. Because if you force yourself through the door, the challenge is going to wait for you on the other side.
that's right.
So you cannot force yourself through a door. You gotta allow the door to open for you and allow yourself to go through the challenges so you could really understand what is waiting for you on the other side. Because whatever is waiting for you beyond that door, you have to have the resilience for when that door is open for you. Because if you're not prepared enough for when that door is open for you, you really cannot understand what is on the other side of that door. So that is why we have to go through these challenges so we can understand when we get to the other side what it is we're walking into on the other side of that door. So this evening, Will, we just want to thank you so much for really explaining walk the line because walk the line, it's not really easy.
No,
It's not easy. And I like how you said you talked about spiritual, you talked about physical, and it's helping someone to know that it takes all of you to walk this line.
yeah,
It takes all of you to walk this line. It's not part of you. It takes all of you to show up for yourself and to walk this line. Because walking the line, your mental gotta be intact.
that's
You
right.
know, your mental, you gotta really understand who you are. Walking this line, you gotta understand who you are. That is why many times you have to pause, you gotta step back, and you gotta do an inventory of your life. Like I was telling someone the other day, sometimes you really gotta do a life audit.
Yes,
You have to do a life audit because when you do that, you could see the things that is working for you and the things that is not working for you.
that's
And
right.
the things that is not working for you, you need to eliminate it from your path.
Mhm.
And again, surround yourself with the right kind of people. Because as you walk this path, you're going to need a community,
Yes,
but not any kind of community. You're going to need a right kind of community
that's
that
right.
can support you on this line that you're walking. And I like when you said it's an invisible line because we can't see it. We cannot see that line. But in order for us to walk this time, we got to trust ourselves. And we have to have the faith in ourselves as we walk this line. And again, your inner wisdom is the pilot on this line. Because once you trust your inner wisdom, you will able to walk this line with faith and know that you're secure because whatever is coming from within you, that is you. That is your purpose. Will, thank you so much this evening for coming into this space and just enriching us with your wisdom because we all need to understand how we can walk
Yeah,
the line. And we all need to understand some of the modalities that we need, like mindset is another big one.
that's big one.
Mindset is another big one. As you walk this line, Your mindset is super important for you. So, once again, Will, thank you so much. And thank you for explaining the power of the Reflective Speaker series. And we just want to open the floor to any speaker, aspiring speaker.
Absolutely.
Just message us, send us an email, and we're going to be able to give you a space on this platform that you can come and you can speak and you can able to aspire whatever your speaking journey is, whatever topic. You just come on this platform and you can able to
Yeah.
your speech, give your
Speak
pitch.
it. Yeah. Give it. That's right. You pitch it. It's up to
Give
you to
your
make
pitch.
it happen. And you know, Sister Karen, before we close, what I tried to show there too is your life experiences are your speech. And so the more
I
experiences
like
that
that.
you have,
I like
the
that.
more things that you can talk about. So anytime that somebody, that's why when you get in these settings, if somebody questions you, the more experiences you've had, you probably have an answer for it. It may not be in the same terminology that they expect it to come back from you, but it can count because you've lived it and done it or seen it in a way that, that they haven't exposed themselves to or even been able to experience it. So take that experience, any kind of experience that you've had, and put it into a speech. And you can speak to just about anybody. Well, you can't speak to anybody. I don't want to say just about anybody. You can speak to anybody. Because, again, it doesn't matter whether you're in upper management, owner, whatever it is. Like the experience I just shared with you, there are people who own businesses who've never experienced what I just told you. I went, and so they don't know anything about that industry outside of the surface level of it. That's it. I lived it and walked it with the guys that actually put the work in. And so when you do that, you speak it from a different perspective of somebody who's just talking about it from the perspective of theory. And that's what you have to remember is if you're going to speak to people, is try to be as Karen said, authentic. And if you are speaking from an authentic point, it's going to be from something that you've experienced. Because you won't have to add anything to that or borrow somebody else's story to do that. And not that there's anything wrong with you borrowing somebody else's story that you heard them tell. You can put that in and incorporate it into your own setting that if you need. But if you've experienced it yourself, it's different. It's much easier for you to explain, and it also comes from the perspective of when you speak it, they will feel it. They can share it. You can put them in that space with you. So I'm pretty sure some of you, especially when I just shared about the rattlesnakes there, you don't want anything to do with rattlesnakes, but you could picture yourself being in that environment with them like that. And like I said, these are some big snakes. When you see a rattlesnake in person that's eating well, they are big as your arm. And this is what a lot of people don't know about rattlesnakes. Outside of them being able to shake that rattle at you, they can actually curl up and stand up like a cobra. Now you don't see that a lot, and you don't see very many pictures of it, but they can stand up, and when they do, that's that's an awesome sight to see a snake that's that's big as your arm push itself up like that, and it's standing up now, probably a little bit under maybe 2.5 feet up off the ground, and you're looking at this thing, and it can launch at you, and they can launch up to 6 feet. So a snake like that is dangerous to be close to at any point in time, but at the same time, you respect what it actually is, and it's only doing so in its own environment that is protecting itself in what it's used to living, and you're invading its territory at that point. So you have to remember that when you see an animal like that, if you don't have to confront it, don't do so. If you can move around or get away from it, and do that because again, we're human, so we don't want anything infringing on us like that. But of course, bears and bigger animals do that all the time. If you're out in the woods somewhere, you're in their territory, so they're gonna let you know that you kind of part of the meal ticket. Now they don't really want to eat you, but they will if they have to. So you just have to remember what, like you said, Karen, the boundaries. You have to remember your own boundaries and respect other things outside. When you're giving yourself respect, it's easy for you to respect your boundaries. So that's it.
You know, excuse me, listening to you just talking about going through this journey with snakes, is as we walk this life, we will go through those moments and those challenges. Sometimes we get bite,
Yeah, I
sometimes
got
we get
yeah,
bite, you know, sometimes
yeah,
we will get bite, you know, but then when that happen, it only teaches us that the strength that we have within us, we can bounce back
yeah,
and learn from that experience. So, whatever your challenges that you're going through right now, look for the gems that you can find and use it for when that next door is open. Because whatever you're going through right now, you're going to need those gems. So when you get over that hump, you're going to really need those gems. So, once again, Will, thank you so much. Thank you for the followers on IG and YouTube and Facebook.
absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. And don't forget to subscribe to Soul Light and Body that you will never miss none of these episodes because we try to come every week to bring a good topic for you, the audience, that you can really understand life on a deeper level, understand more about yourself and how you can able to walk the line.
Yeah.
Well, thank you once again and have
Thank
a
you, Karen.
fabulous evening. Bye bye.
All right. Everybody have a good weekend. I
Yes,
know
bye
I
bye.
yeah, I know I just kind of marked the show, but it's okay.
Thank you so much, Will. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.